Let's talk about authors. Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zach with Zacks Books, and today I've got for you my favorite authors and their best books, in my opinion. I say that because I know some of you guys might enjoy some other books by the authors I'm going to talk about, but these are just books that I've read by these authors that I think are their best work. The rule pretty much was I had to have read 2 books by the author for me to put them on this list. So that's why Silence of the Lambs, for example, is a really good book, but it's not on here. I can't think of one off the top of my head. But that's why you're not going to see Silence of the Lambs, even though it's a favorite book of mine. It's not going to be on this list because I have not read another one by Thomas Harris. This is going to be like list number 1 of this style. I'm going to be trying to have more like this. When I read more authors, I will have another list, like a part 2. But this is just what I've got for right now. Also, I've been teasing a giveaway for the past couple of videos. It's happening now, currently on Instagram, so please go check that out. Guidelines are all on there, so read them and then you'll be able to figure out how to enter the giveaway. It's really cool stuff. Also, any of the books I talk about will be linked down below, so if you want to check them out yourself, please do so. These are all really exciting books. Also, if you kind of hear some like construction going on, my neighbor is apparently redoing their driveway. So if you hear any like loud pounding or like shoveling or anything like that, it's my neighbor. But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe for stuff like this, and let's get this thing started. All right, these are in no particular order whatsoever. Just let's go talk about them. The first book I'm going to talk about is Bird Box by Josh Malerman. This is what inspired the movie with Sandra Bullock on Netflix. These people are blindfolded. You can't see what this thing is, and if you do, then you either murder people or you kill yourself. It's a very eerie book. It's actually a really good story, and I really enjoyed the heck out of it. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. I don't think I quite gave it 5. Check out the Goodreads down below for all of these books if I happen to forget the star ratings. But check them out down below. The second book that I read by this author was Mallory. I did not like it as much as Bird Box. Mallory's like the sequel, where the kids in the book kind of grow up, and I can't talk about the sequel because it'll spoil the first book. So just be aware that I did enjoy this book and Mallory, but this one was better in my opinion. So there you have Bird Box. All right, second book, The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This was another really good book. It's kind of like the first impression that Danielle had given me when she read it was like a smart house, and like something happens, and my first thought was, okay, well, the smart house did something, like it murdered whoever is murdered, and ended up being a completely different story, and the ending had kind of a nice twist to it. I gave this, I think, 4.5 stars, and it was just a really good book. I really enjoyed it. And it started out really nice because there's a woman writing a letter to an attorney trying to plead her case of how she's innocent and did not murder the person who got murdered. The woman is a babysitter. She babysits 2 little girls. One of them ends up dying, and the twist at the end is just phenomenal. The other one I read by Ruth Ware was One by One, which I want to say that was like a mountain story where people get caved in this place in some icy area, and it does not go well for them. I think I gave that one 4 stars, but I really did enjoy this one. I could see why Danielle also really enjoyed this. So there you have The Turn of the Key. All right, next up is Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. She obviously is the author of the Hunger Games series. She wrote The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay, which those are the 3 books I've read in the series. There is a 4th one that came out last year called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is a prequel where President Snow finds himself in the Hunger Games, way before Katniss ever happened. I have not read that one yet, but out of the 3 I did read, Catching Fire was my favorite because it introduced my favorite character, Finnick. he kind of gives off douchey vibes at the beginning, but then he builds into this like really awesome character, and then I just don't like what happens in Mockingjay. I'm not going to spoil on anything, but if you've read the books or if you've seen the movie, you know what happens, and it sucks. But yeah, overall, I really like this. I think I gave the whole series 5 stars except for Mockingjay because of what happened to my character. So, otherwise, yeah, Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. Next up is Nosferatu by Joe Hill. So, this is what I consider Joe Hill's best work, obviously because it's in this video. The only other one I read by him was Strange Weather, and I really did not like that at all. I think the first story was pretty solid, but the other 3 were just like not good. Like, he tried too much to kind of make like a different seasons like his father Stephen King did, and it crashed big time. It was really bad. I did not enjoy it. But luckily he wrote Nosferatu, which is a very good story. I gave it 5 stars. I don't remember when I read it, but I read it last year. It's pretty much about this woman who ends up getting caught in this weird thing called Christmas Land, and her son gets abducted by this creature that drives a wraith, and on the way pretty much takes him to Christmas Land, and she's trying to communicate with him, trying to find where he is, and you find out that it's this bigger place than what you would think. And it's a very exciting story, and I was with it the entire way. I really love the book. Gave it 5 stars, like I said. So far, Joe Hill's best work. So, there you have Nosferatu. Next up is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This book is, I think, the first one I read by Riley Sager, and I absolutely loved it. This got 5 stars, I want to say, for me. If not 5, then 4.5. I did a Riley Sager analysis video where I read all of his books. That we will have up above here if you want to check it out. This one, I think I just mentioned it. I don't actually read it in the vlog. I read the other 3 books. But this was by far my favorite that he has written. He does have another book coming out this year. I think it's called Survive the Night. And that comes out in the summer at some point, I think. July sounds right to me, but I could be mistaken. So keep an eye out for that one, because I know I am, and I'm going to be reading that one, because he's gotten better every book so far, so I'm anxious to see how he tops this one. And honestly, the least you know about this book, like, the better it is going into it. There is so many twists at the end, like, you feel like a pretzel. It's so many things. It leans one way, then it goes a complete opposite direction, and then it turns back another direction. A lot of things get thrown at you at the end, but it's like worth it, and it's really good. So, there you have Home Before Dark. Next up is Sour Candy by Keelan Patrick Burke. I've read, I want to say, 4 books by this guy. They're all short stories. The House on Abigail Lane, which I also really enjoyed. Blanky, which I also really enjoyed, and The Turtle Boy, which I also really enjoyed. Keelan Patrick Burke is like the short story god for me right now. He's just so good with writing short stories. This one is by far the best. This is the first one I read, and it is creepy as hell. So this guy is dating this girl, and he goes out to the store one day, and there's this woman who looks absolutely miserable with like a little child who's like being a brat. And the kid like drops a bunch of candy, and the guy goes over to help, and the kid is like, here's some candy, and the guy takes it, eats it. Then a whole bunch of bad crap starts happening. He gets in a car accident, and because of the woman who was with the child is the one who got him in the accident, and then like pretty much tells him like, he's yours now. And then she just walks away. Just walks into the crowd, disappears. And when the guy gets home, suddenly the girl isn't there, but the kid is there. So that's just creepy as hell. It's a very good book, and I really recommend this. Gave it 5 stars, and there you have Sour Candy. Next up is The Winter People by Jennifer McMahon. This was a surprise book, and this book was actually gifted to me. I got the paperback version. Somebody sent it to me as a gift, and I Really didn't have a lot of like high expectations going into the book. Sounded a little creepy, but I didn't expect it to be as heavy of a hitter as it was. Gave this 5 stars. I did this in a reading vlog. Check it out up here if you have not done so. It's a very nice vlog. I think I did this with a couple other wintry books. But I really did enjoy this book. It really gives off some Pet Sematary vibes. So if you are a King fan and you love Pet Sematary, I think Winter People might work for you. And it doesn't really take that long to get going. There are some parts in the middle where it does semi-drag on, but all in all, this is a creepy book. And I really, really loved it. I also read The Drowning Kind by her, which actually doesn't come out until later this year, which I gave, I think, 4.25 stars. But that was also a pretty good book, too. There's other books that she has written that I need to read that I know, but The Winter People is very solid. So there you have The Winter People. Next up is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. This was the biggest surprise, I would say, tied for the biggest surprise book of 2020. This book was very solid. I gave it 5 stars. And if you watch my channel earlier on, like at the beginning, I would not shut up about this book once I read it. It was just so good. It was really good. The other book I read by him was Horror Store, which is kind of like an IKEA that's like haunted, which I gave that, I think, 4 stars. Again, I remind you, check out my Goodreads. All my star ratings and reviews are there. But anyway, this book got 5 stars, and I could not shut up about it. So these 2 girls that are best friends at a young age grow up, they go into high school together. One of them suffers like this big weird accident and just becomes really weird. And one of the friends that picks on them, something bad happens to her, something bad happens to somebody else, and it's really creepy. And it kind of gives off some like really like friendship, like coming of age vibes, like 2 high school girls like with a good friendship, and it's pretty much like that like wins the day. So I highly recommend this book. 5 stars. There you have My Best Friend's Exorcism. Next up is The Troop by Nick Cutter. Just like My Best Friend's Exorcism, if you watched my channel earlier on, this is another book I would not shut up about. This was a very, very good book. I gave it 5 stars. I also read The Deep by Nick Cutter. I only gave that one 3 stars, I think. That one was not nearly as good as this one was. There's also another one called Little Heaven, which I've not gotten to yet, but I really want to. But this got 5 stars. It's about this... to me, the best way how I can kind of describe it is it's like Alien meets like a Boy Scout group on Earth. I think that kind of sounds right to me. But it's really creepy. It does have a solid twist towards the end, and I just absolutely love this book. I could not put this thing down. Once I started it, it kept going. It was such a good book. 5 stars. There is a scene in here where if you are an animal lover, I also was really upset about. But once you get past that, really solid book. There you have The Troop. And the last book I'm going to talk about, yes, of course he's on this list, Stephen King's It. This book is probably the best book I read in 2020. Probably the best book I've read by Stephen King. And more than likely probably going to be the best book I've read by Stephen King. I don't know what the heck is going to top this book. This is a very long book. Obviously, I'm holding the paperback, not the hardcover. But even the paperback is pretty thick. It's over 1,000 pages. If you don't know what this story is about, it's about this creature that is living in the sewers, and it can take the form of anything you fear. If you don't like books, it could probably turn into a book and scare the hell out of you. That's the purpose of this creature. It feeds off your fear. And there's a group of 7 kids, the Losers Club, which ends up defeating it when they're children, and then 27 years later, which this thing appears every 27 years, it comes back when they're adults, and one of the boys, Mike Hamlin, stays back in Derry to make sure that it died, and he has to contact everybody, and it's a giant long book, and you go into it. Honestly, it could have been told in just one perspective of one of the kids, and it still would have been a solid book, but the fact that King went along and did every single kid's perspective at some point, like as adults, children, it's a very amazing book. And I will also say there is a scene towards the end that is a little weird and out of place, but others will argue that it makes sense to be there because it kind of solidifies their friendship and bondage to each other. But all in all, it's a very, very weird scene. And I do say be careful towards the last 100, 150 pages because you'll know it when you start hearing about it. But there you have Stephen King's It. Alright guys, there you have my favorite authors and their best books they have written, in my opinion. Obviously, I've got more King I gotta read, Jennifer McMahon I gotta read more of their books, but as of right now, this is like the top of the line stuff for me. Obviously, there's other authors I like, but I have not read 2 books, and the guidelines I said were after I read at least 2 books. So, I do plan to have like a part 2 of this at some point. I don't know when that will be, but obviously I've read a fair amount of authors. I just need to read more of their books so I can make another list. Don't forget to check out the giveaway that's currently going on Instagram. And if you liked any of these books, again, we'll link them down below so you can check them out. Otherwise, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Later.